Government corruption has never been more prevalent or caused more harm. It's why extremism is on the rise. It's why the financial gap between the haves and have-nots has never been wider. And it's why our planet is at risk of an extinction level tragedy. That's why I need your help to keep exposing the truth about the rot on both sides of the aisle. Become a supporter or a friend of the show today by clicking on the coffee link in the description box below. Friends of the show join me on a Zoom hangout once a month, and you guys can ask me any questions you want, and I can get to know you better. But the most important reason to help is to keep the show alive. Together, we can and will save our country and our planet. Thanks in advance, and enjoy the show.
My other daughter says she works in the movie theater and she's a cheerleader. And
oh, that's so awesome to hear.
Yeah, they just really
that they're doing well.
Life. So it's really neat to see that. Just to watch them doing normal things, or to see them worrying about normal things. Getting stressed out over their friends or arguments in school. And my older kids and I will just sort of all look at each other and just kind of smile or even tear up, like normal stuff. Normal teenage stuff. It's just really fun to see them, playing a video game or something, just acting normal.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome that they're adjusting and doing so well. And it hasn't been that long, like I said, that you've been out of that chaos and anxiety. So you're still trying to get a divorce though, right? 4 years later.
Yeah.
And what has he done to like get around this process and hinder it?
Well, initially a lot. And initially the main problem was, custody. And that's, that was honestly, I mean, if he was acquitted, he could show up here the day after and just pick up the kids. He has 50% custody.
Yeah.
So, and I was not able to get any type of protective order, which I found particularly annoying when I went into court and the judge brings in all these extra guys for security. And there's a metal detector that's not usually a temporary metal detector brought in. It's all for Stewart, but I don't get it, for the court. Protection, but I don't need a protective order.
What was their reason? What did they say was the reason for turning you down? What was that? I'm sorry.
He did not give a reason. He just rejected it.
The judge didn't even say why he was denying it?
No. We actually had a little hearing over it and they sealed everything, and I was under a gag order, which I'm just ignoring at this point. I'm just tired of the whole thing. I'm not supposed to talk about specifics of the court case, so I just try to avoid that. But we had a little special hearing over his violence, and I definitely probably got caught off guard by a couple things that I think maybe the judge, one thing in particular was that I'd mentioned that Stewart racks the slide of his handgun before he waves it around at me. He would say he was suicidal, and this is public. This is in the protective order I did try to file. Would constantly wave a gun around the room and then point it at his own head and say, "Look what you made me do." But he's not a suicidal person. This is a very homicidal action.
And narcissists never.
Yeah, they're too important.
Suicidal.
They don't. They're too important to kill themselves.
They love themselves too much.
So I mean, he would do this or point guns at the dog, and I had mentioned that he would rack the slide, and one of the things that came up was that from his attorney was that he always carries his handgun chambered. So that kind of caught me off guard. I even had to think about it, like, why does he rack the slide? But he does, and I have that memory. And I even asked some of my older kids, he does rack the slide, right? I didn't make that up, did I? And no, he does. He does it to be dramatic. And so even though it's unnecessary, he does like a partial pullback of the chamber, not all the way, because it would, probably cause a jam. But he would do that, and sometimes he wouldn't necessarily be wearing his gun. He would just set it down on the bookshelf next to him and then pick it up. But he did do that. And I think that possibly maybe the judge thought I was making that up because of that. That is the only thing I could come up with, that would make the judge think that this wasn't necessary or that I was making it all up, which is strange because if I was making it up, I would just say he out and out pointed a gun at me, not that he, points it at himself and waves it around. He's unhinged. So
Yeah.
I really don't
That's
know.
insane.
I suspect that since you can't legally own guns, when there's a protective order filed against you, and at the time, Stewart was very much in the news all the time with the Berkeley riots.
Mm,
I think maybe there was concern that there was going to be this big, big protest and a
yeah.
big to do.
And this was in Texas, right?
This is in Montana.
Oh, Montana.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
almost as bad.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
for sure.
take their 2A rights very seriously,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
more so than the life of women and children. So,
For sure. Yeah.
because they're pro-life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we had the police out at our house, I don't know how many times. And my dad had a full gun collection. He used to threaten to shoot us all while we were sleeping at night, and never once took his guns, took him away a couple times on what is it called, a 5250 or whatever. But, he'd be out in 3 days and then even more pissed off. So,
Wow. Yeah. And then it feels like it's not worth it. It just makes it worse.
yeah.
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 Wow.
I know
Yeah.
exactly how you feel.
Yeah. So you know exactly what how
Oh
my
yeah,
kids
when
grew
you were
up.
talking with Frank Figluzzi about how Stewart would rage for a few hours at a time, I was like, oh my God, this is my father.
Yeah.
In and out of the room, slam the door, you think he's done, and nope, here he comes
Yep.
again, rages more, calling my mother every name you can possibly think of, wishing cancer on her. I mean, just for hours.
And these judges, I mean, I just don't understand it. I mean, I had to answer, in court to whether I had mentioned Stewart's cheating in a loud enough tone that possibly the children overheard me, and I never ever argued back. So maybe twice in our entire marriage did I ever say anything back. And one time I did, and I had to answer, no, the kids couldn't hear me. We were up in the loft. The kids were in the basement. I didn't yell. I just thought it was absurd that he was angry at me for, joking with the kid at the deli counter and accusing me of cheating by laughing with another man.
Wow.
She literally just had a fling last weekend with my old friend. So it just the absurdity of it. And at that point, everything was in place. I already had a lawyer when we were ready to go. And it just hit me, just the ridiculousness of it. So I felt pretty brave, and I just said something back, and he had me answering that for court, when at the same time it was openly brought up, the slew of just horrible names he would call me over and over and over again in front of the kids all the time. My oldest kid even testified to it, that was just all the time, and it was never questioned on that and never brought up again. Wow. So his constant name calling and screaming and yelling was completely acceptable. But, I had to answer to whether I, raised my voice one time,
Wow.
So,
yeah, I'm thinking that this was a male judge, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Male Montana judge. Wow.
And
it's not sexist or misogynistic at all.
There's one district judge, there's one